Alright, we are live. Another episode of Rolling with the Punches. I'm Bez.
I'm Quinn.
And this week we're covering UFC 260 Ngannou versus Miocic.
Oh, yes.
2. Was supposed to be 2 title fights on this card. Sadly, it's been dropped down to the 1. Alex Volkanovski and Brian Ortega, I think it's being rescheduled for another month or so's time, whilst Volkanovski deals with whatever COVID business he's going through. Hopefully he'll be back nice and quickly.
Yeah.
Turn into another Kamzat situation. No one wants that lasting for months.
No, absolutely. Which has kind of, I don't know, really put a dampener on the rest of the card, in my opinion.
I mean, it was already kind of top heavy as it is now. It's pretty much all about that fight.
Yeah.
I mean, Woodley and Luca is not a bad fight, but it is kind of towards the bottom end of the division now. Apart from that, there's really not a lot of divisional significance, should we say, on this card. But it still should be a fun night of fights. So actually, there are decent scraps on the card. So
some nice up and comers.
Yes, a couple of older veterans who may be on their last leg. So it's going to be a good mix. I think there's a couple of people who have been given an attempted leg over on this card. I've got a test to pass. We got to see whether they can do it or not. So first off, Stipe and Francis.
What do we think? Personally, Stipe's got this. Stipe's got this. He's done it.
I mean, he did win their last fight. My money's on Ngannou. It's hard to gauge how much really he's improved because he spent about 5 minutes in the cage in their last fight. Bar the fight to Lewis, which I won't really count because it was a bit of an anomaly for both of them. They sort of stood there and looked at each other for 15 minutes, and that was that.
Nothing exciting, really.
No, it was terrible. It was one of the worst fights in history. Which is amazing, considering them two in the cage. Like, you don't know how it.
We've seen what Lewis can do. We've seen what Ngannou can do. Like, you
no,
think a great fight.
Absolutely happened, but anyhow. I know since that Francis has come back. I think he's won his last 4 fights, all by knockout, all in the first round. Over some sort of former vets as well.
But Stipe is a champion. Like,
yes,
he is.
I mean, he's the best champion the UFC's ever had in the heavyweight division. The thing is for me is that he is getting old and he's been through those wars with DC. Cormier knocked him clean out in their fight. Granted, Stipe took his belt back in the next one, but he was getting beat up by Cormier for most of that fight. And that last one, the end to the trilogy, like, granted it was a long fight. Stipe did win it, and he was a deserved winner, but that was a hard fight for both men. So I feel like that's going to take a toll on his chin, in addition to the wars he's already been in. Like, I don't know how much he can keep it up for.
I mean, do you put Ngannou in the same rank as Daniel Cormier?
I mean, in terms of punching power, he's out there on his own. Like, technically, Ngannou's a terrible fighter. You watch his punching style, and there's no technique to it at all. He's just got a million punches everywhere, but it works. The only person in the UFC to have beaten him, again, apart from that sort of anomaly with Lewis, was Stipe. And he did it through his wrestling. It's just whether he's got the timing and the power and the overall cardio at this point, really, to keep up with that for another 25 minutes. I think Francis is going to find that chin this time. He seems to be a more patient fighter.
But then do we have another trilogy on our hands, though, do we? We have another trilogy on our hands, obviously.
I don't think Dana White's going to want the belt back on Stipe after this. They never particularly got on that well as it is, which is surprising for someone who should be really marketable. But Stipe's he's got no microphone game. He's got a voice like gravel. So I think once Francis does get the belt, that'll be that. But yeah, he's already been confirmed anyway that Jones is fighting for the title next. So whoever is going to come out the winner on this one, I don't think there'll be an immediate rematch, certainly. No. And you got a question of, say, Stipe's, I think he's 38 now. Is he still going to want to hang around for another couple of years to wait for a rematch? He's already talked about retiring a lot recently anyway. So I think if he loses this one, I could see him stepping away. To be honest, I think if he wins this one, I can see him stepping away. He might stay around for the money fight with John Jones. He might just decide he's had enough and call it a day. That'll be another 2 defences for him, on top of the 3 he's already had. So he's already come to be the best champion the UFC's ever had in that division. Yeah. So he's not got a lot more to prove.
Baddest man in the world.
Yeah, but like I say, I do think it's Ngannou's time. And for me, I'd like to see Ngannou back in the cage and being a bit more active. Yeah. It's someone who spends sort of a couple of minutes at a time. He fights once a year, if that, and it's frustrating to watch.
I think either way,
he's pissed off with it himself.
I think either way, it's going to be an absolute hell of a match to watch. It is definitely headline worthy. This thing is going to be huge.
But the last one wasn't a bad fight. It wasn't great for the sort of the more casual fans to watch. It turned into a wrestling match essentially for 20 minutes of the fight. Ngannou came out all gun blazing like he does in every fight in the first round. Spent 5 minutes swinging for Stipe's head and just couldn't really find it. And Stipe leaned on his wrestling game, kind of similar to the Blachowicz Adesanya fight before the other week. And just kept it like that for 20 minutes. And Ngannou looked clueless on the floor. He says he's improved. The coaches said he's been working on it. So proof's going to be in the pudding, really, because I think Stipe will test that.
Has he gone through enough time? Do you think legitimately,
What, 3-4 years since their last fight?
Do you think that's
that trilogy with Stipe and Diesel? Yeah, and normally it would be, but as I say, he spent 5 minutes in the cage. It's going to be depending a lot on what he's been doing behind the scenes, because in the cage he's the same guy. He comes out, knocks his opponents out in the first round, and then walks off without a drop of sweat on him. So it's hard to tell whether he really has it. But the people around him say he has. We can only hope so. Otherwise, it's going to be a long, long night for Francis again. But while Pete's riding on it, I'm going with him. I think Francis has got it.
I've got money on the champ still. Come on, show me what you got.
All right. Well, we'll see. Co-main event. Vicente Luke versus Tyrone Woodley. Obviously, this one's been pushed up because of the featherweight bout being cancelled.
Yeah, it's going to be a good fight.
It's a bit make or break for Woodley, this one. He's on a 3-fight losing streak.
It's been a bad ride for. It's been a bad ride.
To be honest, he's fighting in a similar way that he has been for years. I mean, the outlier being against Darren Till, where he sort of took him straight down to the mat and choked him out. I think that's the fight he earned his black belt in. But apart from that, he has for the longest time, since even the Wonder Boy fights, he stays with his back up against the cage and waits for a counter. And when it doesn't happen, he's a very dull guy to watch.
Yeah.
The second Wonder Boy fight was like that. The Damian Maia fight went that way, just stuffed takedowns in 25 minutes.
Let's not even get started on that Wonder Boy fight.
I think the difference here, though, is that Luque is not going to be the type of guy that's going to sit and wrestle him for 25 minutes. Luque is predominantly a striker. Woodley should be able to match him. I know we said this against Gilbert Burns, but Woodley should be able to hold his own on the ground against Luque. In theory, he's got the more superior ground game.
Absolutely.
It's just whether he's going to wilt in the face of pressure again. I mean, that was worrying against Colby. He just sort of did nothing really for the whole 25 minutes.
And Luke is not. He doesn't fuck around, man. He's putting out a lot of pressure.
He's going
a lot of pressure.
Unless Woodley lands that one overhand right, I can see it being a long night for him, to be honest.
And Luke's got a lot to play for here. I mean, he's ranked 10th at the moment.
Yeah,
beating Tyrone Woodley.
He's still young. He's on a hell of a streak. He's got 2 losses in his last 10. And he beats everyone out that's sort of not the elite of the elite. And
the only people who he's lost to are currently in the top 5.
Wonderboy and Edwards.
Yeah.
The people who have either fought for a title or will be fighting for a title. To be honest, Edwards and Luque would have made more sense than that Muhammad and Chimaev match.
That would have been, that would have been a good fight,
to be honest, but it is what it is. We're stuck with it now. But yeah, I think Luque's probably got this. I know Tyrone Woodley's a bit of a step up, and equally Luque's a step down for the type of guys that Woodley's been fighting recently, but I thought that against Gilbert Burns as well, and then Gilbert Burns trashed him. I think this is going to go kind of a similar way. They wouldn't be surprised if we see Luque getting a stoppage finish, and I think if that happens, that's going to be the end of the road for Tyrone as far as the UFC goes.
Four losses in a row, man.
He's on a lot of money. He's a former champion. He's been in the UFC for a while. He's in Strikeforce before that. So they're paying a lot for essentially an old welterweight. He's doing not a lot of winning at the moment. I think with another loss, again, it's no secret he's never really got on with Dana, so I can see that probably being the end for him. But not that I want anyone getting fired.
No,
I just think that'd be the case. UFC have been brutal when it comes to cutting sort of the.
We've seen it recently.
Yeah, and if they can get 5 contender series fighters to fight for the same price as one Tyrone Woodley, why wouldn't they? Especially if that Tyrone Woodley is going to lose another 5 straight rounds.
And some of these up-and-comers are fantastic. Yeah. They're great. They're great to watch fight.
There's a lot of action fighting. If not so much quality as you get maybe from the traditional. But then a lot of these older martial artists are going to start retiring. And they're in their sort of late 30s, early 40s now. You can't carry on going forever, you know. So
no, not at all.
MMA is still a relatively young sport. It's only about 25, 28 years old. So that kind of first wave of famous fighters are going to start dropping off. And some of these contender series guys are going to be the new dudes.
Which kind of brings us on to the next guy who's kind of interesting to see fight, Sean O'Malley.
Yeah, he was another one that came through the contender series. He's fighting Thomas Almeida. I'm not sure if this fight was supposed to be on the main card or whether this is the one that's been bumped up. But anyway, it's Sean O'Malley's returned back after his first loss to Marlon Vera sometime late last year.
Bad loss.
Yeah, well, it's another leg injury, but that's happened to him 2 out of his 4 UFC fights now. You got to wonder whether it's inherently, whether it's the way he throws his kicks, whether he's not training right, whether there's something biologically kind of. I know there's certain footballers, for example, as soon as they get injured, it just happens again and again and again.
This also this also makes it a target as well.
Yeah.
His his opponent hasn't just sat there and thought, what, there's a tactic here. His coaches, his corner, you're going to be telling him, go for the leg. Yeah. Why would you not?
No, I wouldn't blame him in the slightest.
No, not at all. It's a great you know your opponent's weakness.
He's heaped the pressure on himself here. His first loss he took in his last fight, he's he's maintained ever since. He still considers himself unbeaten, and it was a fluke loss because of his leg. He didn't really learn anything from it. I mean, apart from anything else, he injured his leg, but he was getting kicked heavily in it before the injury occurred. So you could say the leg kick caused that injury in the first place.
Absolutely.
So yeah, if he's not learned anything from this, it's dangerous for him, especially against a guy like Thomas Almeida. Granted, Almeida's on a terrible streak now. He came into the UFC with all sorts of hype. I think he was 17-0.
Yeah.
Won his first 4 in the UFC. Then got knocked clean out by Cody Garbrandt. Lost his next few after that. I think with one in between, maybe somewhere. Had a couple of years off out injured, and then came back and lost again. And that was a considerable step down for him that time as well. It's just it's a bit of a must-win for both fighters.
Yeah.
I think if O'Malley takes a loss here, he'll probably get another chance to redeem himself. But Almeida again, I think, is another one. Granted, he's still young, but I think with 4 losses on the bounce, if he lost 5 out of his last 6 at that point, the writing's on the wall.
It really makes,
especially in the bantamweight division, man. It's so stacked.
Oh,
just
wow,
going to keep you around
of course.
If you're not that.
And the bantamweight fight we had
last weekend, Yanez and Lopez was an incredible fight, and those guys don't even have numbers.
Fight of the night, 100% for me. Still is a fantastic biff.
It's certainly a great performance from Yanez. I think he got performance of the night bonus for that.
Good.
There was no fight of the night last week. 4 of the finishers got their performance of the night.
Again, it wasn't that. It wasn't
an action-packed card, was it? There's a few good finishes on it, but apart from that. But no, I mean, Sean O'Malley certainly can't go and taking it easy. Almeida is a guy known for his knockout power, and he's got 17 knockouts at bantamweight, which is no mean feat. They don't hit hardest in the world, those guys. So,
exactly.
Yeah, if he hasn't tried to shore up his defence a little bit, if he does get caught slipping, I think it could be night O'Malley. But yeah. I do fancy him to win. I think he's got enough in the bag, and as long as his coach has been working with him properly, the UFC seems to have quite a bit invested in him as well. So I'm sure they would have lent him all the medical help he can get.
You would hope so.
Yeah. So my prediction's O'Malley in this one, but I think, to be honest, that could be the sleeper fight on the card. I wouldn't be surprised if that ends up being the fight of the night.
Yeah.
So looking forward to that one. Next fight down, Julian Roberts versus Miranda Maverick. Yeah. Great name for a fighter.
Go on, Maverick.
This one I think is probably supposed to be a bit of a leg up for Miranda Maverick, to be honest. I think she's 8-2 at the moment. She had 1 loss in the UFC, but apart from that, it's pretty stellar. Oh no, actually, I think she had 1 win in the UFC. Sorry, not 1 loss. Yeah, she made a UFC debut and got a win. It was Julian Roberts that lost her last fight. She's only 23 years old. Used to compete in Invicta and coming up in the flyweights. I mean, there's always that big name of Valentina Shevchenko at the top. But apart from that, the division's fairly fast moving. It's one of the newer divisions in the UFC.
We are seeing see fight soon as well. We are seeing Shevchenko fight soon.
She's just defending her belt against Jessica Andrade. That's the next pay-per-view, isn't it? The UFC 261. We'll be covering that one. I think that's another triple header, so it'll be another big weekend for us.
Yes.
I mean, you wouldn't want to count Julian Roberts out. She's been around for a little while now. Still only 26 years old, but she's got the wealth of experience that Miranda Maverick hasn't got.
But this is, again, it's a nice push for her.
Yeah, I mean, she's a phenomenal grappler. So is Miranda Maverick. I'd say Roberts has probably got the edge out of the 2 of them. But I just hope he doesn't turn into a kickboxing match. Sometimes you find when you get 2 great grapplers, they respect each other's game too much. Sometimes it works out great, and you get a match like you did with Usman versus Covington, where it's actually quality kickboxing match in 25 minutes. Sometimes it goes like Askren and Maya, where they're sort of swinging back fists at each other and falling over and stuff. So let's hope it don't go that way.
No, but I mean, Maverick can get a nice shiny number next to her name if she wins.
Yeah, I mean, Robertson's about 15 at the moment. So I think if Maverick wins, she could certainly take her number and start making a move up those rankings. But I mean, Robertson's still young. She's only 26 herself. So I mean, if she does start putting some wins together, there's still time for her to make a run at title.
Yeah, absolutely, but you are gunning for Shevchenko at the moment.
Yeah, good luck with them. Still gunning for Khabib, isn't it? It's not, the only person who's made her look human really is Nunes. Still talking making that fight or bantamweight again as well.
I'd kill with that fight.
But Shevchenko has got Andrade to get fast next to. It's no slouch. One of the hardest hitters in that division. I mean, she was knocking people out of strawweight.
Yeah.
So her punching power translates to 125 as well. We could have a good fight in her hands there.
But we will cover that.
Yes, at a later date. And then opening up the card, you've got Jamie Malarkey versus Karma Worthy.
Great names of fighters.
Yeah.
Great names. This is in the lightweight division.
Which is at the bottom end. Again, Malarkey's another one. He's a young prospect. I think he's another one who's on the Contender Series. Only 26 years old. Had a bit of a rough start to his life in the UFC, but he seems to be another one they're putting a bit of the promotional weight behind. Coming from Australia, I think they're trying to build up that market as much as they can.
Yeah.
With City Kickboxing coming out of that area as well. You've got Volkanovski obviously from Australia, Adesanya from just over the islands of New Zealand. Dan Hooker, another Australian prospect coming up as well. Kaikar of France. So they really do. They seem to be pushing out that area at the moment. I think this is definitely a winnable fight for Mullarkey. I mean, Kyle Worthy, he came in with a bit of hype. He won his 2 fights by a very quick stoppage, but then lost his last time out. Same Mullarkey, I think he's also coming off a loss. So it's a chance for both men really to get back on the winning track. I think it means a lot more for Mullarkey than it will do for Worthy. Yeah. Worthy's going to be one of those guys that sort of stays unranked, and it's one of those names you got to get through to get a number next to your name. But I think for Mullarkey, if he can get past this test and maybe start getting some ranked fights after that, the future could be bright for him. He certainly looks talented enough to do it, and the gyms over there are really coming into their own at the moment on that side of the pond. So yeah, that side of the pond, that side of the globe, the map, away from us, Australia. Yeah. So yeah, there's another one I'm looking forward to. It'd be a good way to open up the card. I wouldn't be surprised if that one doesn't go the distance. So keep your eyes peeled on that. Yeah, and it's nice to see these guys and who could be making the next run for the lightweight. Yeah. The lightweight belt is currently vacant. It's, you know, we haven't that fight in. I'd be amazed if Carl Worthy ends up winning it. Well, he did give an interview this week that he said he thinks he could take down Michael Chandler's head off. Doubt he ever gets that fight. No! Nice to get your name in the papers. Yeah, sure. Yeah. I don't know, I still see Chandler winning that fight. Yeah. I mean, I know. I think Oliveira's got that. Oliveira Chandler. Yeah. Yeah, no, I've got Oliveira by a sub. Be a close fight. I will certainly want to put money on it, but I will be putting a pizza on it with me. Absolutely. Oh yeah. I mean, yeah, no. I mean, it was. I personally just after Chandler's debut, it's just wow. You got to back him. Look at that. That was such a good debut. Yes. I think that rounds out the main card. It does. Only trying to think any other news this week. Khamzat Chimaev has reversed his retirement. Seriously? Yeah, he says he's coming back to smash everyone. I don't know whether it's because Khabib's retired now and he wants to take up the mantle or what, but good news for fight fans. Yeah. One of the shorter-lived retirements of recent years. I think it was only about a month ago that me and Chris did a reaction to that one. Oh yeah, of course, yeah. But I mean, pretty soon after that, the president of Chechnya got involved. A lot of people started throwing the name in the hat saying that he wasn't retiring, they were definitely going to sort it out. So they seem to have persuaded him. Well, there we go. I wonder what he was offered. Yeah, you know that. It'll be interesting to see the match. It's interesting to see who they match him up against when he comes back as well. Because now Leon Edwards is kind of taken up by either the Bilal Muhammad rematch or someone against the top 5. Oh yeah, of course. I can't see him agreeing to Chimaev again. Maybe Kevin Holland. Kevin Holland called him out a while ago. It's coming off a loss to Brunson, but he didn't take too much damage. No, he was alright after he's talking about moving back down to welterweight as well, so it's kind of a similar, either weight class he could meet Chimaev on his return, so yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing that fight actually. That would be great. It could be a bad night for Holland if he doesn't shore up his wrestling defence, but apart from that, it's going to be entertaining. I mean, Holland talks a lot of shit for the both of them, so it doesn't matter that Chimaev's too quietly spoken. But guaranteed to be an action-packed fight if nothing else. Apart from that, it's been a fairly quiet week. Next week we've got the return of Bellator coming back. It'll be interesting, especially for BBC. Nice. Yeah. A few more organisations are starting to open up again. Gordon Ryan, ADCC champion, is signed with one championship this week. He's made his transition to MMA. So that'll be another thing to keep an eye on. No word of when his debut is yet, or even what weight class he's fighting at. But a lot of people have been calling for him to transition over for a while, so that'll be cool to see when it happens. And other than that, I think that pretty much covers it. That's it. Obviously, we'll be back tomorrow for our post-fight show. See who won the pizza. And see if anything else comes up between now and then. But until then, see you later, guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you like the channel. Hit the bell icon for more notifications of when our videos be popping up. Oh yes. And we shall see you all later. Peace.